everybody.
All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. We got a packed meeting. It's nice to see everyone here. This is our first meeting since June. So we know you've been looking every month when ELPCO is coming back. Well, we finally came back here in September, so we're glad to be here. I'm Jason Stevenson. I'm one of the co-chairs of ELPCO, the East Liberty Park Community Organization. My other co-chair, Daryl, is in a country that rhymes with Portugal right now, with his wife, having a great time. So he said to say hello, and he's enjoying himself immensely, from what I've heard. But I also want to recognize some of our board members that are here. We have Ellen Parrish. Thank you, Ellen. Ellen represents the West Emerson neighborhood. We have Jeremy Higginson, manning the camera, from East Liberty Park. Let me look around. We have Christina Robb, representing East of West, which is a cool neighborhood, just east of, or west of East. West of East High School. That's where that comes from. And I want to recognize our two land use advisors, Judy Short and Dave Richards, help us out on all the complicated land stuff that comes up. And am I missing anybody here that's a board member? We will be having board nominations tonight, ahead of elections in October. So we'll go through that a little bit later in the meeting. Everybody got an agenda? If not, there are some that are still around. And we'll get started. Jen, where you got till 7:15, right? Why don't we get you going just so you can get going. The fire department, do you guys mind waiting just a couple minutes? Jen does a recap of the 9th and 9th Street Festival. Okay, you guys both obviously could run out the door at any time, but let's see if this works with Jen. And Jen, if you don't mind standing on this X here, I promise no green slime's going to fall from the ceiling, but it just helps us with our video.
Hey everybody, so I'm Jen Bloom and I organized the 9th and 9th Street Festival this year, which by most accounts everyone deemed a success, which is always nice. There were a few things that we were resolving for 2020 regarding the expanded number of vendors that we had. Check-in was a little bit of a challenge, but everyone got into their place and it was a really great day and we had a great event. Great volunteers, including Jeff over here, some other people. So I wanted to give a few shout outs to Jordan Valley Construction, who I don't know if they're here talking about the roads, but they helped out with our barricades this year and were a super help for us. Green Bikes actually was our transportation sponsor. We had Creative Energies as our solar power sponsor. So the event actually this year, the festival itself only used solar power.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I know, it's great. We've got to get the food vendors to do it next time. But we simplified our logistics a little bit this year and we didn't provide power. Except for to a small group that was all solar powered. So we're looking to expand that for 2020, as well as going to zero waste. It's a big endeavor for us, but that's one of the things we've got on the agenda for, we're starting to plan now for that, and actually work with some other festivals and organizations or other events to see how we can consolidate some of our zero waste efforts. So then we also had Intermountain Healthcare. They did their teddy bear clinic this year. So those are our main sponsors. So this year we had over 180 vendors, which was an expanded event. As you know, there's road construction on 900 South, so we shifted the festival west. As soon as that construction is done, which we hope will be for 2020, we will shift the east to 1000 east. So, and probably maintain an 800 east to 1000 east footprint. So if you're along that area, we thank you for your support of the event. Let's see. So we've got a few things that really went nicely this year was simplifying some of the logistics, coordinating vendors. The solar power component was really big for us this year. Some of the things we're working on for next year is having the fire department show up. So it's been a few years, so that's one of our pitches for this year. We're trying to coordinate in advance for having the fire department having a presence there. The police department was there with the bicycle rodeo this year, and they'll most likely be there again next year. We're also looking for, we've started a list that people can subscribe to. The list will be who are just interested in festival updates, more attendees. and then also neighbors who are affected by the event. So if you go to 9th and 9th Street Festival.com and you scroll to the bottom, you can add your name to that list for notifications for 2020, especially if you're along those most adversely affected sections of the street that are actually closed. Let's see. And then for 2020, on the agenda is more art, like actual installations of art. So not just vendors, but more of an art experience. It's not an art festival, it's still a street festival, but we want to bring in a few more, not just the commerce part of it. And then we're also going to be looking at more entertainment dispersed throughout the event. We got rid of the stage this year, the big stage, and we had a smaller music tent, which logistically was very beneficial to the organization. So. That's my recap. Hope you guys attended. Did anyone? Yeah? Did you have fun? No? Yeah? Okay, well you guys are the ones who care about it. If you have any questions, I think my email is on or my information is on
It is, yeah, on the back of the agenda.
Yeah, if you had any issues with the event or things that you liked or things you'd like to see more of, or if you'd like to get involved, please feel free to email me. Okay? Good. Thanks, you guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Sharon. Next year's festival is September 19th.
September 19th.
2020. So it would be the third Saturday, I guess, right?
It is the second Saturday after Labor Day, which is the third Saturday of the month. So we will not be on the avenues and us will be separate.
So we'll keep that separate. Sure.
And you're applying for the ACE funds?
These funds are being applied.
We've already emailed about that.
Yep.
Yes, we've started the
We're on
process.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did have ACE funds that we received for this event, and then we'll look at next year.
Yeah, that helps put on festivals like this. And this is almost the 30th year that ELPCO's been doing this.
Let me give a thank you to Salt Lake City Corporation as part of the Arts, Culture, and Events. Well, they were one of the sponsors.
Cool, yeah. And we'd like that money again.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, next up, Salt Lake City Fire Department, station number 5, just right down on 9th South. Thank you. If you don't mind standing right there and just talking loud, that'd be great.
It's kind of awkward, actually.
It is a little, but
All right, my name's Claudio. I work up at Station 5, 9th and 9th area. I've actually been up there 21 years. So for you guys that don't know, the way our schedule works is we work 2 days on and 4 days off. So I've literally spent a third of my life in this community. And I have because I love the 9th and 9th area. I like the people, the flavor, everything from the city council being involved in doing things to things like the festival you just had. And just to kind of address that, we'd love to be a part of your festival. The fire department has a community outreach program and also fire prevention arm to them, and they'd be glad to put up some kind of booth to do something with you. As far as us from the station, we usually walk through there at some point during the day, but we're pretty busy at that station. And for you, those that don't know, we have a truck, an engine, and we're also the heavy rescue team for the city. So we run a paramedic engine, and then the heavy rescue team, we do everything from the high-angle rescues, the ropes and stuff, backcountry stuff, to trenches, confined space, things like that. One of the biggest challenges we've had lately is just construction in front of our station, which many of you are aware of. But we have been working closely with the city, so the roundabout that's going in there is going to work really well with our rigs. We've actually mapped that out with them. And we think it's going to help that intersection. As a lot of you know, it's kind of funky the way those 5 roads try to come together, and they're offset a little bit. So we hope that that's going to keep the flow of traffic moving, but also they really are going that as a traffic calming device as well. So hopefully it'll bring down some speeds and stuff along with that. You know, I think everyone thinks that a lot of our traffic programs in the city are all about moving cars faster, and that isn't the direction the city's going. We're looking at neighborhoods like 9th and 9th, and in conjunction with the fire department and our access to places, making things where it's more friendly for the people who actually live there. So, little update, our station, our engines run 1,200 calls this year to date. Truck's been on 1,300 calls. Heavy rescue team's been out 137 times. So we're pretty hopping down there. It's a fun, busy station to work at. There's 8 people that work there, at any time during the day. And we have a community newsletter that they print out every month that just kind of has some safety tips or whatever else. So Josh is the junior guy, so he volunteered. But, so he's gonna read a couple safety tips, but first, does anyone have any questions for me or anyone at Station 5 or what we do?
What is your call volume from medical versus regular fire calls?
I would say top of my head, right? For department-wide, about 80% of what we do is medical calls, and maybe 20% is fire calls.
Okay, that's the same nationwide, but the reason I'm asking is the city council is asking to consider a medical response team separate from the big fire engines that go to every medical call.
And so what we actually have is what's called MRT, and Josh worked on it for a couple of years. So what it is a smaller suburban type of vehicle,
Right.
and we've been using that for a couple of years now. And we have those on
Downtown.
staff downtown for kind of busier times of the day where that makes sense, and they pick up a tremendous amount of calls for us.
Yes.
That is a couple things. It helps our carbon footprint, of course, keeping the big rigs off the road, wear and tear on those. And also, it's just kind of a gentler appearance and presence in the neighborhood, having a squad shop instead of our ladder. You know, but, so for those of you that don't know, the fire department runs all the medical for Salt Lake City. So we have the medical license. We are the highest professional care that you're gonna get at your house. So if you get in a car wreck or something like that, you're gonna see a fire truck. If it's something in your house, you're gonna see a fire truck. And you're gonna have Gold Cross ambulance show up. Gold Cross is a private company that contracts with the fire department for transport. So if we get to a call or something and you need to go to the hospital, we put you in the back of Gold Cross, we do everything for you, put you back to Gold Cross and send you up. If you're really jacked up, we actually stick our paramedics with you in the back, send you up with Gold Cross to the hospital, and then the engine follows up and picks up those paramedics and brings them back to our station. But yeah, to answer your shorter answer, is about 80% I think is the city average, somewhere there for medical. It's a big part of it. So maybe, I don't know if you can elaborate on the MRT at all. You rode it a few years.
Yeah, no, I think you covered it. It's been around at least 5 years. I spent about 2 years on it. And I'm a huge supporter of that. It does prove to be a little difficult with staffing because sometimes you need more hands on the call, which is where we keep the four-hand staffing on the fire engines and bring those in more often than maybe some people would like to see. But yeah, I'm a huge supporter of that, and I can only encourage it as a community to voice those opinions to the mayor and whatnot if that's what you like seeing.
And also with MRT, he brought up the staffing, that's a good point. So all of our rigs are staffed four-handed, and not everyone in the valley is like that, and we appreciate that. You really need that amount of people, whether it's a fire or a medical or something else. 2 people like they're staffed in MRT, they won't get dispatched like on a cardiac arrest, because they just can't do it. You need 4 people. You know, you need one person doing compressions, another one doing the drugs and stuff, and IVs, another one trying to get information, then another one trying to keep the dog away, or yeah, seriously, like it just gets crazy in people's houses. So you really need all 4 people for that.
So one of the things that we're trying to accomplish in the city is better air quality.
Mm-hmm.
And when you run on a call,
Mhm.
you keep your rigs running.
Mm-hmm.
And idling vehicles is a tremendous contributor to carbon and methane and gas emissions. And so, and I know that police officers do the same. They leave their cars running the whole time. You've got computers you've got to keep running from the battery, those kind of things. So what, I think, you know, it's, when you're on a call, you might be there for hours. And a police officer might be there for hours, and they're running their vehicle all that time. So I appreciate that we're trying to reduce the number of vehicles that go to a call, but how is it that we can take it even further to say what can we do with technology and innovation to make it so that we don't have big idling vehicles for hours at a time out there in the community?
Right. That's a great question, and it's something that we could get maybe some more direction from upper parts of the fire department. But me being captain of the station, we actually, I think we do a pretty good job on my crew, and that's really all I can speak for, is if we're going on a call like in a neighborhood or something like that when we're parking, we usually shut down the rig. If we're on the freeway or like a busy street or something, we keep it up, lights are going, everything else. But we do make a conscious effort, I believe, to shut those things down. Perhaps there could be more direction from the chief down, so maybe other people and stuff could kind of clue into that. But I think for the most part, most of the men and women are fairly savvy to that. You know, and I know that the fire department has a lot of electric vehicles and things like that. They're trying to ramp up and do different things. But point well taken. And I'll talk to my chief, my battalion chief, because things kind of work both directions there, and see if we can't adopt some kind of initiative like that. You know, where we are more prone to shut things down than not. You know, it's the same with the ambulance too. Whenever they show up, you know, all their stuff's running to it, and I get it, man. You got an engine, a truck, and an ambulance, and it's horrible, you know. So we can do a better job, you know, and I appreciate that, and we'll try to.
Thank you.
You used 2 words, a truck and a rig. What's the difference?
Okay, so we have. It's a good question.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you guys got the call.
Okay.
I'll take it from here. Sorry.
Okay. He's my boss, so he knows all about this. Hey,
Thank
thanks.
you for coming, Kathy, appreciate it.
Keep that.
I'm not gonna go up here. Let me answer first to the idling. So nationally, this is a big deal. This isn't just Salt Lake City that we're trying to deal with big rigs idling. There's a lot of reasons that we have to leave them idle. The first and foremost is when we start those rigs and they go to the scene, our turbos have wound up, the turbos are hot, and we can't just shut them off because they got to cycle oil through them. And if we shut them off, it blows the turbos. The second reason we have to leave them idle is because of all the electronics in them. Everything is being handled. We're speccing these things with the biggest alternators in them. They've got load managers in them to shut off stuff we don't need, but it's got to keep the brains working. And if we shut them down but leave our lights on, it will kill them. So there's reasons we have to leave them on. We do have policies in Salt Lake, in the fire department, that as soon as we feel safe enough, we will get them shut down. But I know nationally they're looking at like propane-powered, natural gas-powered rigs. Right now that technology hasn't advanced to the point where Salt Lake City's ready to adopt that through fleet. I know they've looked into it. They've looked at all the research of it, but they're not ready to say, yeah, that works for us yet. So it is something we talk about and we look at, but it's not something that's going to be feasible yet. So that, if that answers your idling. We discuss it at our chiefs meetings all the time. We're just not at the point where we can do it. We do it as much as possible. But on medical calls and when we're in the neighborhood and we can shut our lights down, after those rigs have sat in idle for a while and those turbos are cooled down and we can look at our engine temps and they're back down to normal, they'll usually go out and shut them down. So, okay, does that help? I know it's not the answer you want of why can't we just shut these things off like the rest, but there's reasons we can.
No, I get it. I just say, you know, let's keep looking at technology.
Oh yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Mhm. Fleet is constantly. I think right now, Fleet in Salt Lake City, all of their if not all, most of their garbage trucks are all natural gas powered now. They're continuing to look at that stuff. And I know it was probably 6 or 8 months ago, there was a big initiative to try to see if the fire service could go that way, and Fleet looked into that, and it's just not ready for us to do that yet. But technology will increase, it will advance, and I've been driving fire trucks since the 80s, and what I'm driving now, or what my engineers are driving now, does not even look like what I started driving. So they're a lot better now. We've got no smoke systems built onto them, so when we are on scene, the engineers will push a button and their exhaust will run through filters now before it comes back out. So we are taking initiatives to try to clean them up, but we're not to the complete no idling.
There was a question about a rig and a truck.
Okay, so we call them trucks and engines, but if we're just using it as a generic term, there are rigs. A truck is what you'll see with the ladder on it. They're the things that go up in the air. The engine is what carries hose and water. So we have to have both. But we'll call them rigs. To us, they're just rigs. To you guys, they would be apparatus or engines and trucks.
My 8-year-old memorized that when he went to the fire
Yep.
station.
Yeah, that's something we talk about, yeah. An engine hooks up to a hydrant, a truck puts a ladder in the air. Yes, ma'am?
How do people get on your newsletter?
We have a website, slcfire.com, and that's the way you can sign up for that website.
And we post them on our Facebook page as well. Darby sends them out, so we
Yeah.
can put them out.
And for your 9th and 9th, I don't know, I stepped out with the 9th and 9th chair lady to talk to her. I don't know if Captain Hoover addressed it in here, why the fire department wasn't at 9th and 9th this year. It's happened 2 years in a row now. Salt Lake City Fire hosts Camp Prometheus and Camp Athena, which are local teenagers up to 21, I believe. They're the same day as your 9th and 9th camp. This crew that is scheduled to go to up on 9th South is our heavy rescue crew. They're the ones I use to make sure the youth are safe when we rappel them off the side of the tower. So unfortunately, those guys get double booked. So I'm going to see what we can do. I just talked to her. Maybe next year what we'll have to do is try to get a different apparatus from outside of your district assigned to this, just in case the heavy rescue station is going to be up. Unfortunately, the camps are the 2 middle weekends in September, just like their 9th and 9th camp. It's that way every year. So we'll have to figure out something else. Yeah. It's not like we avoid them, and we don't want to come there. They're on my calendar. I had a huge email chain this year trying to figure out how I was going to get somebody there, and it just didn't happen. So unfortunately, we can't be in every place that we try to be to on our master calendar. So, any other questions for the fire department? I'm going to go to this call now. If I can answer anything, please let me know before I leave. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right. We learned a lot about Salt Lake City Fire. That's good. Usually they're either running to a call or they're not here, so it's great to get that much time with them. We've got Salt Lake City Police next. Detective David King coming up here to give us an update about what's been going on the police side. And you'll notice on the agenda we also have a small discussion point later about some of the meetings about Liberty Park and the ballpark area, which Detective King was at. If you wanted to cover them in this case, either way, or we could do it a bit later, whatever you think.
Yeah, I was just going to run over those.
Great.
Talk a little bit about it. So, a couple weeks ago, we had a meeting at the police station talking about Liberty Park and some different stuff that's going on. Some of the questions that were brought up was one of the first ones was talking about being a vigilante and when to get involved and when not to get involved. And that's just one of those things where I would just say that it's kind of personal opinion. What's going on at the time, and is it something that you really want to get involved in? Because a lot of times you might not know what the other person is, if there's any kind of danger. We're in a society where we have a lot of technology, phones, you can take photos and videos, and that's what I would say is the best. A lot of times, some of the stuff that's going on, I understand it could seem like it's a big deal, but if it's a lot of times maybe the charge is maybe just a misdemeanor. Is it really worth getting involved, putting yourself into that situation where you might get hurt, or sometimes people get involved and they do go a little too far, and then they could be potentially looking at some kind of charges against them for going above and beyond what maybe they should have been doing. So it's one of those things where I'd say always give us a call, always let us know what's going on. It's one of those things where I say if it's something where it's a life or death and you feel like you need to do something, that's gonna be on you. I can't say yes or no, go about it, because that's you're in that situation. It's just one of those things where be able to explain and give the reason why you did that for justifying that. But I would say for the most part, you see stuff that's going on, videos, photos, give us a call and let us know. If it's something where it's an emergency and you need us there right now, don't hesitate to call 911 and let us know. If it's just an ongoing problem you want us to be aware of and you want officers to come out and take a look, then you can call the non-emergency, which is the 799-3000. Then you get the phone train, it's extension 7, and then from there you got to get on with dispatch. And I understand sometimes it's kind of crazy. They have you do the 20 questions. We're in the process of changing around our dispatches a little bit to try to make that a little bit better, but there are certain questions that they need to ask in order to get that information out to us. And so I would just say be patient with them, go through the process and talk with them and let them know what's going on so that they can get the appropriate help out there. Definitely with you being there, you're our eyes and ears sometimes, and we rely heavily on you to let us know if there's an issue, because we try to do what we can, but we're going call to call, we're going all over the city, and you're seeing a problem that's going on right there, so you're our best help that we rely a lot on. And so we appreciate any kind of help and support that we can get. Let's see what else was there. So we understand that there's been some problems and some ongoing issues. I know that our department has been trying to do a lot to try to help out with that. And the issue with the park, it's something that we're seeing citywide. There's been talk about park rangers, and that was one of the things that they talked about. I'm not exactly sure where we're at. I know that because of budget, it seemed like it was pushed out a little bit, but there might be rearranging the budget to try to get more officers to help alleviate some of those problems. But I know that they've created like we have an internal website that we can use to help get information out to the different officers, and they just took it down, so I'm not able to give you the exact information. But I know that our officers have been going out during the day, walking the park, at night, trying to go through and enforce some of those park curfews, trying to help alleviate some of those problems. We've been also working with the city and some of the health department to clean up some of the trash and some of the other stuff that's been left laying around. But it's something that we're definitely looking at, we're definitely aware of. When you call in and you get those reports, that goes to our database where we're able to look at the statistics. And I know I've said it before, but we get together every 2 weeks with our admin, and they're able to look at those different numbers and be able to determine where in the city we need to put those resources. Sometimes I understand it can be frustrating because it seems like a problem will take a while to try to build up steam, to try to get some of it taken care of, and people will call and then they stop. And when we're looking at numbers, it kind of looks like, okay, well the problem was there and now maybe it moved somewhere else. Well, the problem's still there. It's just that people stop calling. So that would be one thing I'd say is keep calling. Don't hesitate to get a case number. If you call in, get a case number for your records so you know where it was at, or you know what the case was so it can be referenced later if needed. If you've called, sometimes we get busy. Sometimes we happen to have officers in the area and they are able to respond quickly. Sometimes it might take a while. If it seems like it's been half hour, 45 minutes, maybe an hour, and you're wondering where it's at, where they're at, don't hesitate to give our dispatch a call back and say, hey, I called in. What's the status of the call? Where are we at? So that is something that you are able to do to try to help figure some of that out. On that same side, if you're ever wondering what's going on in the city, like you might see a problem somewhere and you have a question. I don't remember the exact website, but if you get into Google and just type in like Salt Lake City dispatch call log, you can actually pull up like a call log of the city, and it'll tell you what calls are going on in the city. Like the streets might be redacted, so it might say like 13XX 1300 East. So it gives you kind of a general location of what's going on, so you can kind of get a sense of feel of what's going on in your neighborhood. So those are some things that are kind of going on. But I know we've been out trying to hit some of the parks with the park rangers. I know that when we start getting the staffing, if that comes out, that they won't be here 24 hours or 24/7, but they're going to be broken up into 5 parks, the 5 main parks, and then be moving around as needed when we see those issues. But what's really nice is that I think that we've been increasing our call volume to try to help out alleviate some of that stuff. 3.5 years ago when I was on patrol, we had about 90 officers signing up for patrol, and just recently we had 180. So that alone is great. We're still a little down. We still need help, but just the fact that we're getting support from you, the mayor's office, the city council, everything is great, and it is absolutely helping us out. This is just kind of a little summary that was talking about District 5, and this is covering just the month of August. So like comparing 2018 to 2019, they have it broken up into what they call Part 1 crimes. That's kind of some of the serious, like the homicide, sexual assault, aggravated assault. You got your Part 2, which is like counterfeits, frauds, stolen property. And so this is how the FBI categorizes a lot of stuff. And so for Salt Lake, for District 5, so like all of District 5, I think because of the increase in officers, it's helped out. But last year for 2018, we had 295 Part, and this year we had 215. So it's dropped. And for Part 2 crimes, for 2018 we had 657 crimes, and for this month we had 510. So the increase in officers, I think, is helping getting officers out. I know that with this last sign up that there was an increase. I think it was like 15 officers that were added to the District 5 area to help with days, afternoons, and graves to help alleviate some of the problems we see. we constantly look at trends. There's a lot going on right now, talking about doing ops as far as getting in and looking for burglaries, suspicious people out that might be involved in some of that. And I know that our detectives that are dealing with like the burglaries and the thefts, that they get their guys out. They kind of sometimes they're able to know who they're looking for, and then they go out and they actually try to focus in on certain areas to try to help alleviate some of those stuff. So we do have a lot going on, and we do have a lot of work going on, and with you guys calling in and letting you see, that helps us out so that we know where to direct our stuff, our resources. Does anybody have any questions for me? George?
I just want to reiterate that the community, everybody in this community should communicate with Aaron on why we want police officers in uniform versus not uniform. Because I know there was a concern at the council that police in uniforms are intimidating and create fear in some demographics. But the reality is the first experience with a cop should be a police officer in uniform, and in a park would be perfect. If the first experience is in a criminal complaint, there's an issue. They should be see cops in uniform in a nice environment like the park. But that was a holdup. So everybody in this room should communicate what they think to the city council, because that's what's holding it up. Is Aaron still here?
I'm right here, George. Nothing is held up, actually.
You want to talk about the second budget amendment?
Yeah, when it's my turn.
Okay, thank you, George. Chris?
I wondered if you are a victim of a crime and you have a case number, should you expect to be able to find out what the status of that crime is?
Yeah, and that is something where if you have that case number, what you can do is you can call up our dispatch and say, hey, I'd like to speak with the detective, and I got a case number, I'd like to know what the status is. And then she can send you over to the secretary for the detectives, and she can figure out who is assigned to that.
Well, I did do that,
Okay?
and I never got a return call from anybody. I called a couple of times. So I don't know what the disposition of that was.
Okay, if you get a number on the,
It's on the back of the
Well, it
agenda.
was back in December, so I don't.
doesn't matter, if you got a case number, I can figure that out. So I can give you my number, or if you got the case number, I can talk to you afterwards.
I don't have.
Okay, so I'll give out my information, but on the back of the paperwork is my contact. Give me a call, let me know what that case number is, and I'll,
Well, I dropped my credit card at the gas station. Somebody picked it up. And before the stores closed, they'd gone to the mall and spent $2,300. Wiped out my checking account. And I don't know, I mean, my bank may be good, but it's like going up and going in and holding up a bank.
so, and along with that, so if you're not aware, the way that some of that works, like I've had my credit card, I haven't lost it, but somehow someone has got a hold of mine twice and charged lots of money, and then the way it works is that if you lose that money, you file the complaint with your bank and they reimburse you, they now become the victim.
Yeah.
They're the ones that take on that loss, and they're the ones that are the victims, and you become the complainant in the report.
I know you don't have time to do this, but I know if they had found out who that was on Christmas morning, they could have showed up at his house and recovered all of that, including $600 at Blue Boutique, by the way.
You get a hold of me with the case number, I can
This just got real interesting, Chris, yes.
I got one
Okay.
quick question, just
Yeah.
quick, please.
Yeah.
You have more officers, you just said, you've increased them. Any traffic, motorcycle enforcement, traffic? The traffic on 7th East and the speed on 7th East between 9th and 13th is horrendous. And I haven't seen a motorcycle or anybody watching that. And that's all I need to say. If you don't need to, I know we're over time, just.
Well, if you
I've called Laura, I've called the desk and told her, There's no response,
So,
no response.
If you go to like slcpd.com, and up in the like little search spot, you hit speed watch.
Okay.
If you go through there and put in the complaint, that goes to our motor sergeant. So as far as patrol doesn't do a whole lot of that speed enforcement, that's on that motor
I had
squad.
to put one of those monitors on Lake Street.
Mhm.
It was there like 3 days. It didn't work.
Yeah, we don't control those monitors, unfortunately, they took that away from us.
Well, I mean, the speed, even on Lake Street is ridiculous.
Maybe we need a roundabout on 7th East. Oh, boy. I'm kidding.
Or school at 7:00.
Traffic calming.
But you
All right,
do-
we
you
wanna keep the
You
meeting
do have more
going.
officers on traffic than you used to, right?
Say that again?
Some of the new officers are involved in traffic, or are they just detectives and not in a uniform or not in presence? There's no presence.
So the new officers, they're assigned to patrol, and they're the ones that are going around doing a lot of the dispatch calls.
Okay. Thank you.
Does anybody have any other questions for me? If you need to get a hold of me, my number is 801-799-3624. You can reach me at CIU District 5 at slcpd.com. So it's on the paperwork, or if you get onto our website, just go down to the bottom, find my CIU officer, and I'm there. Okay?
All right, thank you,
Thank you.
Detective King, appreciate it. So the Detective King's info is on the back of your agenda, and actually, Detective King, a couple of ELPCO residents noticed you patrolling Liberty Park a couple weeks ago, so thanks for taking a personal interest in working on these issues as well. And he is also a great resource. If you have problems like Chris you were talking about, reach out to him, he can help troubleshoot some of that. Let's move on with our agenda. We've got Matthew Utley from the Tracy Aviary, which is where we are today, our generous host. He's going to talk about a funding proposal that Tracy Aviary would like to see if we could support. I can hold some of that.
Thanks, Jason.
Yeah.
So usually I have to say, like, does anyone know where Tracy Aviary is? I've been there before, but that's not going to happen today.
Where is it, man?
Yeah, but I do have to tell you that there's fall break camps, October 17th, and we set those over on the table. There is fall break camps, and so if you're interested and you have kids, kindergarten through second grade, I've got to put a plug in for getting your kids into this room with our excellent educators next month. So you all know about the aviary. The reason I'm here today is to talk about a CIP project that the aviaries put into the works, and part of that system is getting letters of support and neighborhood support for the project. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. This map is really hard to read, but I'll leave it out over here in case you want to look at it more. But basically, on 6th East, kind of center south of the park, there's a red brick gate. We call that the East Gate. It's on the east side of Tracy Aviary, and it's fallen into disrepair. Our proposal, there's some drawings I'll show you in just a moment, is to come in, fix some of the mortar that's damaged in the space there. I can move this around so I can see it. It's also, so basically refurbish the gate, but also solve what's become a problem for the aviary. We've had 3 break-ins to the aviary in the past year. We typically don't have a lot of problems, but in the past year it's been pretty bad. So we have numerous internal investigations to figure out what's going on, as well as our accreditation agency, AZA, came through last spring and identified the East Gate as a major problem for people sneaking into the aviary. So we already kind of knew that, so we were working towards a solution, hence this project. But folks can jump this pretty easily. We're required to have an 8-foot fence around the aviary, and this is the one spot that does not have an 8-foot fence. And so, in fact, in another presentation, I was talking about this, and someone said, "Yeah, I've seen kids jump that fence." And I thought, well, yeah, that's the problem. So, our solution there, I can show you some pictures, but right now, when you walk down 6th East, this is not the most attractive thing to look at. As this project moves forward, we know that it will be, and it'll also improve security. With all this talk about increased police officers in the park, which I think is a great thing, really the first thing is you would tell, the Officer King would probably tell folks is, well, lock your front door, you know, like first rule, right? So this is us kind of locking our front door and getting that gate fixed up. So this is a historical gate. We also have this historical, what used to be the bathhouse. We use it as, it's kind of a custodial building now with some restrooms in it. It's that direction, kind of at the south end of the aviary. And the roof is dilapidated, and it's going to start to leak, and it's a historic building, so we're just doing our part to try and get that roof fixed in a timely manner so that we don't damage the building any further. We have gone to the, we do have drawings already and some estimates. The whole project's about $120,000, although of course once it goes through the CIP process, that will go through bidding again and awarding and stuff like that. But the design's kind of done, and that's what we have here. Some improved gates, some signage. You probably noticed there's no signs on the east gate, got ripped off long ago. So our new signs won't be made out of a metal that is salvageable. Like that is something that's a little less valuable, but still looks really nice, so they don't get ripped off again. And there's, you know, bird silhouettes and kind of in theming like what we have around the rest of the aviary, stuff like that. Are there any questions?
Can you enter the aviary from there?
Nope. The gate is not an active entrance.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, that's an interesting question. You can see in the old gate where there were letters here that said Tracy Aviary across the top.
Mm-hmm.
And our original proposal went through historic landmarks, and we still, so that part's done as well. So I think we're pretty much cruising through this. At some point, fall of 2021, I think, we'll be able to get construction as the sort of the gears move slowly through the city there. But yeah, there was originally, it said Tracy Aviary right across here. It's pretty cool. I still would like to get permission to write Tracy Aviary right there, but we got denied that because they said it was not an actual entrance and it would confuse people.
Okay. So there's nobody there to collect fees or anything?
Nope,
So
the main entrance is where you came in over here. Although we do have a second entrance where you guys probably know you can grab coffee and a snack over on the west side over there.
Mhm.
I think it would just become way too confusing to have a third entrance. People wouldn't know how to get out. But yeah, I'm hoping that we can move forward with this, with improving it and just making that walk down 6th East more attractive and safer for the aviary. Any other questions?
How much will it cost and with the
Well,
recommendation?
our estimates say that this project will cost about $120,000.
Okay.
With the solar panels, we're having to take off the solar panels, which are, it's one of my first projects at Tracy Aviary back in 2009. We put those solar panels on, so they're like 10 years old. So we have to take off the solar panels, re-roof it, and then put the old solar panels back on. So that adds some to the cost. And one option would be to, when we go through the trouble of taking off the old solar panels, would be to put new solar panels back on, because there's so much of that cost is just the install.
Is that, so that building is historic also, so we couldn't get like a naming opportunity with Sun is Solar or somebody's like, hey, you know, we'll put your name on here, give us the free solar
We do have
panels.
a great relationship with
One of those
Creative
guys.
Energies Solar. In fact, you've seen our pink solar trees. They helped us do those. And we just had there's a huge solar event, not like solar event, but like solar installer event that was in Salt Lake just this past week, and they had an event here. So we definitely will be asking them for donations and things like that.
I
So
bet you can get some.
We'll
new ones.
work that angle for sure.
Yeah, cool.
Every little bit helps. But yeah, the way how you can help, if the ELPCO wanted to write a letter of support, I know that goes a long ways with the CIP board. So yeah, if you wanted to see if everybody was interested in doing that, that would be helpful, and Jason could write up a letter, and I could attach that to our application and send that on forward. Also, my card is over there, so if you have any questions for me, grab my card, shoot me an email, and you can help by just continuing to be a friend of the aviary and coming out and supporting us whenever you're around. Cool. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Matthew.
I'd
Yeah,
like to
Judy.
move that you write a letter.
Okay, we have a motion from Judy that ELPCO writes a letter. Seconded. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all right, looks like I got homework. All right. Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Matthew. Next up, we have 9th South Construction. Thank you guys for being patient. This has been a big project in our neighborhood, moving pretty quickly though, and we appreciate all the updates that you send our way. We relay them out, and I'll tell you, they are the #1 clicked article in our newsletter. So you guys are very popular.
Matt Castle, city engineer. And I'm Carrillo, I do civic engagement with engineering. So I want to talk about 4 projects. I really didn't have a lot to talk about, really wanted to field more questions than anything else, but I wanted to quickly go through the projects and their schedule and where they are. So let's talk 13th East first, and I think everyone knows that 13th East is not going to get done this summer. In 3 weeks, the 17th South, the 2100 South section will be completed and will be open for use again. Contractor will leave, and in the spring they'll come back to do the 13th South, the 1700 South section. They've run into a lot of issues, storm drain issues. Probably the biggest issue that they've struggled with is we have fiber that's in the road that's not where it was expected to be. It controls the signals at 2100 South, 17th South, and 1300 South. Put in by UDOT, not in the right place, and we've struggled to get that figured out. So that project, that's that project. 9th South is going to be, the schedule I got today is supposed to be completed by October 31st. This
It's
section.
really moving fast.
So they have picked up speed, they are getting things done. We're pleased with the progress. We're lucky because we've never had any concern that they would not get done because it is concrete. And if they had to, they could go through the middle of winter and continue pouring that concrete. So we knew they were going to get done. And I'm pleased that they will get done by the end of October.
We may still have some items to complete throughout November, but they'll be mostly punch list items, some signage and landscaping, but the road should be over by Halloween.
So the road will be open, the parking will be open and available, so.
Does that include the bike path and pedestrian?
Yes. So the third project, and Jeff's here to help talk about that if there's any questions on that, is we had promised as we had started the 9th South project that we were going to do a parking study. We didn't want to do the parking study while we had the road torn up because it would be a little biased because a lot of the parking would be gone at the time. So it is now time for us to get that parking study going, and that is the third project, and it will be coming along relatively shortly. We're putting scope together to get a consultant on board, and we will start meeting the neighborhood, ninth neighborhood, and start figuring out what information we need to collect so we can go further on with that. The next project that we have is the 9-line project, which extends from 9th South, or from the end of our construction, to 9th West. And we have selected a consultant. We're working through the scope and fee with that consultant. And the first 2 steps with that project is a traffic study and another parking study along that whole corridor, so that we can start doing our outreach, come to you with some better information under our belt, and have a better discussion with you all about the impacts of that project. And so that is coming. It's going to take a little while. I would say we probably won't be in front of you probably until January or so. But the purpose of this consultant is, one, to take the design, flesh it out, take a couple other pieces and parts of a project. There's like 10 funding mechanisms for this. Put them all together, make sure they all work, and then figure out how we're going to build this project. We've got utilities, we have an RDA section, we have the 9-line section, we have a road section. We're trying to fit all these together to make the most sensible way of building this project, and that's the first order of business. So that's all I had.
Thank you.
Questions?
What is the 9-line?
The 9-line is a, how do I describe it?
It's more like, it's a regional trail against the the east and west community. So we're building the first section of that 9-line trail. Years and years ago, there used to be a trail along that train line that was called the 9-line. We built it out, the trail went away. It's been on our long-range plan for many years. We're installing that first piece of it with this project that we're doing out here. You'll see it on the south side of the road. But as we reconstruct the street, we'll be adding that trail and then the sidewalk next to it. And that'll extend, that same configuration where you have sidewalk, a trail, and the road will extend all the way to 900 West.
Are there plans to extend that trail past Redwood? Seems like the last time I rode it, you just sort of dead end right in the middle of a pretty busy street.
You know, nothing's ever off the table. I think there's always a desire to extend our facilities. It's always usually the resources and the funding that
Part of
has
it
to come
is it
together.
terminates, you know, a block or two from California. It's just sort of in the middle of nowhere. So it's really not very safe in terms of trying to continue. So your only option is to turn around and sort of double back.
With this, we knew we have the right of way already. So it's just a matter of, you know, reshaping our footprint. But out there, we may need to talk to other parties.
You were talking about, you said something about street and trail. Is the street project in progress all the way west as well, or is that just a trail?
No, it would be a street, trail, and
So
sidewalks on
essentially going
both
to
sides.
do what they've done from 13th to
What you
10th
see
right
from
away.
Lincoln Street to 13th East, it'll be or to 11th East, it'll be a similar configuration all the way out to 900 West.
But
It might-
not a rebuilding of the road
Right.
necessarily.
Right, we have some funds for a section of the road, but not for the whole part from 950 to 9th West. So there'll be a section, but like I said, we do have utilities going in, and we have the RDA section, so there's numerous different pieces that we have to fit together.
But at the end of all this, it's gonna be a low-stress bike corridor, right, the whole way?
So it'll be right, this corridor here, this piece that we're building, right,
Yeah.
it's gonna go down to 25 miles an hour.
Yeah,
We expect that we'll have calmer speeds all throughout 900 West. Yes.
But the bike trail itself will be separated
yeah.
quite
Yeah,
well
that's,
from the road.
that's what, I'm an old lady, that's kind of like, way I want to.
Yeah, so it'll be good
Good.
separation between the bikes,
So I get down
other
to
than
the
getting through
park
the
right there.
intersections.
Yeah. Well, I'm not that old.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I sent a couple of questions today from people in my neighborhood who couldn't make it this evening. One was about the raised crosswalks.
Yes.
And are those raised crosswalks actually built into the project, like they are, like what we're seeing happening right now, west of 1100 East there? Or do they come in after the concrete has been poured?
They should be going in, the section where they're gonna go, they'll go in as part of the concrete, so. But there are, if you're talking 12th East, that is one that is not raised, and is actually not in the plans, we missed that one. So it's being striped right now, but Donna and I and Jeff talked about it earlier today, and we're gonna come back and we're gonna do something for that crossing, but it will not be raised.
Okay, interesting. All right, then the other question was in regarding, let's see, exactly we covered the.
There's a utility
the-
question.
Yeah, utility question. Is that, I mean, we talked to wonderful people at the city who helped us with utility and maintenance issues in that area, to the north of Mesa, where they, for safety reasons, turned off the water on a couple of occasions. And we were hoping to do more public outreach in the next segments with neighborhoods. And we were talking about community councils getting more involved with that part of public outreach, talking about what happens with emergency
Right.
power outages. So-
We had, as part of this project, we had one outage and it actually affected East High School, and that was a broken water line. So these are things that we can't, if we have a planned outage, we'll always make sure we get the word out to everyone that there's an outage coming and get them prepared for it. The outage we had on this project was a broken water line, and public utilities needed to shut it down immediately, and luckily we had crews on site. We were able to get it up and open again by the evening. And we've had 2 gas line breaks also.
And 2 other water outages for the neighborhood on some side.
Yeah, those, we can look into that and find out what's going on, but those weren't because of 9 South project.
Well, according to maintenance and the public utilities, they were because of the road issues. So we would just do a little bit of
We'll look into that. Yeah, if it's a planned outage, we always try to get the word out. We definitely do not want to be turning water off unannounced. So
And do you guys leaflet or knock on doors for that, or?
we do every way we can. Usually,
Yeah.
the people on the street, we put door leaflets on them, email, Twitter, every way we can to let people know that it's coming. And we try to give advance warning also. So in all of our projects, we have what we call 2-week look-ahead schedule to let them know that things are coming, so they can keep an eye on the project and what's going to happen the next couple of weeks.
So just let us know how we can help in our neighborhoods.
Okay.
You know, after they do the dry run, you know, we're happy. I think a lot of us are happy.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Any more questions? Okay, thank you for coming. Appreciate it. I think the recap would be 13th East is going to continue into next year. 9th South finished by October 31st, which I think everyone's excited about. And the 9-line trail is going to continue kind of going west, to try to connect 9th and 9th East with 9th and 9th West. Just kind of keep that whole 9th quarter going. Well, we have a new addendum, or sort of a new part of this project coming online. We've got Kat Nix from the Council. She's got a little presentation about what's going to go at the roundabout at 11th East and 9th South. I really lobbied hard for a statue of me, but you know, didn't work out. They said it didn't look good in marble. I don't know. But, Kat, take it away.
Hi, thank you all so much for having me to speak with you tonight. I'm just going to give you a little bit of an overview of how Salt Lake City's public art program and our process works. To hopefully shed some light on that, there's been an incredible amount of support for public art from community members, from our city council. So it's an exciting time, and we want to engage you all early on in the process so you have some say and ownership in what will be going into your neighborhood. So just a quick overview of our public art process. We put on the more permanent side of public art, this is really small and realized now, the text. So just look at the next picture. And I can send this presentation to you afterwards as well. But we put high quality public art in our natural and built environments around the city in all 7 of our districts. So that could be skate parks or our roads or any public space. We have an art design board consisting of 7 members. They are the mayor's appointed experts who select the artwork and artists, who is then, they give that recommendation to the mayor who has the final approval. But we have a mission to amplify arts in Salt Lake and our values that kind of govern the board in line with Salt Lake City and the Arts Council's vision and values are art, equity, diversity, and enrichment. And that can be from the creation to supporting artists in all different stages of their career, different mediums, diversity of artists in all stages of their career, education, professional development, all of the good stuff. So small, I realize now. But our public art process, how this kind of works is our main way that we can rely on every year is through the CIP process, so the presentation which we see every year. In that process, the city's also submitting applications, and we'll reach out and meet with the public art program to see if there's potential for public art. Then we will present to our art design board, see if it aligns with our mission and values. If it does, then we will start the public art process, which is incredibly long. We'll start with the art design board to develop whether it's an RFQ, which means it's a request for qualifications or a request for proposals, or if they're selected from our pool. And then we release the call for artists with the artwork goals, which is why I'm also here tonight to ask you to get your input on what some of those artwork goals should be that the artists will respond to. After the call is released, then we have the art design board review all of the submissions. Sometimes this could be a really intensive task. This last year we've had some applications we had open that we had over 300 artists apply to, so really exciting. And then the art design board will review, make a selection. We have a couple different ways that we go through that process as well. And then if the board approves and makes a recommendation to the mayor and the mayor approves, then we start the contracting process, working with our project partners. This one is with engineering. We feel really grateful. They've been an awesome partner thus far. And we go through design development, engineering drawings, 75% fabrication, and then all the way to installation and celebration, where we get to celebrate an incredible new addition to your all's neighborhood. So you all have seen the project site. What we're going to do is open up a call for artists that will be at the center of your roundabout. Engineering has already poured or is pouring or will pour a 6-foot diameter base that we will put a sculpture at the center of the roundabout, which is a very exciting opportunity. Being a part of the 9th South Corridor and the 9 Line is an incredible opportunity. The way that it's a connector and connecting our neighborhoods together, 9th and 9th to 9th and 9th. A quick project overview of what this is looking like so far is an RFQ, which is a request for qualifications. That's in line with national best standards, so we're not asking artists to work for free and create a proposal for us to review, but we're just reviewing past work that they've already completed. We're checking their references, we're reading their letter of intent. We're looking at a budget of approximately $115,000 for the sculpture. We're thinking of restricting it to local artists only. And the timeline is that we're looking to open this call in December. The public art process is anywhere from 9 to 14 months, and so hopefully by end of 2020 or early 2021, we would be looking at a new sculpture at the center of the roundabout. So I'm here today to get some input from you all about what some of those artwork goals should look like in the RFQ. We want artists to feel like they have the integrity of their artistic vision. So we don't necessarily want to say, you know, if it was in a fruit orchard that we want a fruit sculpture, although that could be really great or cute. But we want to give broader kind of artwork goals. So example, I met with Judy Short for the Fire Station 3 public art call, and some of the artwork goals that the Sugar House Community Council had come up with is reflects the unique and historical identity of the Sugar House neighborhood. And the fire station said, well, you know, we really are focusing on restoration and health and putting our firefighters' health first. And so one of the artwork goals was that the artwork reflect health, wellness, and recuperation. And so the artists took these kind of broad artwork goals and created a really site-specific, incredible art piece that did all of those things. It interpreted the site's history. It paid homage to the incredibly rich and unique identity of the Sugar House community. If you haven't been to Fire Station 3, I highly encourage you to go and check out. It's one of our newest completed public art projects. But to incorporate sort of these broader artwork goals that an artist can then do what they do best and respond to and creatively problem solve to get something that is unique and site-specific, interpret the history. You all see yourselves reflected in it. It helps to develop a shared identity. What public art does, which is all those incredible things. So some goals that we kind of pretty standard, not acknowledged as the 9 Line, that was maybe an example that I put in there, but meets ADA standards and Salt Lake City requirements. It exemplifies strong imaginative design and content, and go. Just kidding. That's maybe not the best way to solicit ideas. But if you all have some strong feedback for what this artwork should reflect, it'll be a pretty standout piece in the center of that roundabout and a great entryway into the 9th corridor from the east to the west. And so if you all want to think about that, and I'm happy to come back if we want to email Jason more homework. If there's anything right now that is sticking out to you, or if you would like the art design board, we also ideally have a representative from every 7 districts. If you would like the board to come with you with some artwork goals that then we can have you all vet, I'm happy to do that, but want to engage you all on early in this process so you have some say in how an artist can kind of respond appropriately to creating artwork. Hi, Erin.
Can I give some feedback?
Yes.
As a resident?
Yes.
And I appreciate this process has been pretty amazing in that we asked the city transportation department to help us address what was a rage-inducing five-way stop for a lot of residents. And there was a confusion of who stopped where, and you didn't stop where I thought you were going to stop kind of situation. So I know that it seems like a funny request, but I would love to see something that emanates like welcoming, love, that this is, because 9th and 9th South is Harvey Milk Boulevard, but really 9th and 9th neighborhood is one of the most welcoming, diverse, funky,
Yeah, I'd like funky too.
embracing communities in this whole city. And on top of that, okay, so I'd like to see a giant cart,
That's your request.
But I'm serious because not in the heart, but in the love part, because in addition to that, we have the students coming from the west side of the city up to East High School every day of school. And I want students as they come to and from on the 9th South corridor, whether they're not in a bus or on their bike or a scooter or whatever, I want that to be something that they see every day, that it makes them feel wanted, included, no matter where they're coming from or where they're going to. So I guess to ask to recognize this daily impact on the students.
Yeah, that's good.
So-
And that we're trying to make people feel love and not rage.
Yes.
So I'll add to what Erin's already presented. I live just slightly off the 9th and 11th of Circle. And two things strike me. One is it is Harvey Milk Boulevard, so there's that piece. And it would be interesting to represent that. That we also have a lot of diversity in that area. And I think that's important to reflect all of that diversity, if it's diversity of age, LGBTQ, gender, just, community feel. So whatever that translates to an artistic piece, art installation.
Love it. So we've got exemplifies, and yes, exemplifies a welcoming, loving entrance into the 9th and 9th neighborhood. Yes, Christina?
So I just want to reiterate exactly what she said, particularly regarding the students. And along that line, we've been gathering other folks that will help fund any other necessary things that might need to happen in that area regarding this project.
Yeah.
So
Love it. Just reflects the diversity and funky. Do you feel strongly about the word funky?
Yes.
And green plants, there has to be some plants.
It'll be, engineering's doing a fantastic job with plantings around the roundabout, so it will look good. Yes.
What do you mean by local artists?
Utah-based artists.
Okay.
Yes.
Not those California.
Not this one.
I was just going to add not only of individuals, but also of modes of transportation. It's the 9-line corridor, so somehow celebrating that it's a public right-of-way, not a car street necessarily. It's inclusive.
Yeah.
So I'll say I'm worried too about a car tunnel, like just trampling over it. So I hope that the roundabout's constructed in some way.
It's slow.
The curve around there is really beefy. It's great.
We've got a beefy curve, a sloped way, and then the sculpture.
If they hit the curve, they'll go airborne, like clear, and just keep going.
It's a high school at top of the hill.
Right.
On that note, this has nothing to do with the quality of the art, but from a functionality standpoint, my experience, Utahns are still kind of new to the roundabout thing. Something that people can see through what's going on instead of a block that you can't see what's on the other side of the roundabout would be
There's
pretty
some
helpful.
site requirements that
You guys have requirements.
thank goodness for engineering. That's why we have strong partnerships.
Never mind.
Yeah.
Kent just wants a big fish out there.
Well, there is Western Rivers right there.
We've got hard.
Contender bicycles.
Did you have some feedback?
Yeah, I just wanted to add the idea of connection, because we're talking about the 9-line east to west.
Right.
So connection.
Okay, I am going to, yes, George.
I'm still concerned that it's a great big street. They took out a lot of, I mean, it doesn't have shade as much as when I moved here, it had a lot more shade, I thought. So it'd be nice to have a giant tree, but it'd take 20 or 30 years for that. But maybe the sculpture could be something like a tree. And you could put different designs depending on the season on it, but something like a sculpture of a cottonwood tree that would actually provide some shade, because that roundabout, it seems like it's just going to get hot. It'd be nice to have some shade around.
I feel like you should apply to this call for artists.
No.
And you want to submit a tree.
No.
That's great. Maybe, have an
What's wrong with the
article that
sculpture of a tree?
We probably let artists do what they do best.
Yes.
Yeah, true. Well, we can say that it reflects the ELPCO community.
right.
Look at that tree right there.
You can't see through that.
That's the logo.
Needs to be a winter time.
But the logo is created, we want an artist to respond and do what an
That's what
artist
we
does
want.
best.
Yeah, George, put on a shot.
Yeah. Okay, so I feel like this is, yes, go ahead.
I hope this doesn't sound too bananas, but I would really love the space to have the be capable of serving another like kind of multi-purpose space, in the sense that for the 99th Street Festival it could be function as some sort of platform or stage.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, that's a good idea.
and that is an amazing idea, and I want to not say anything is not impossible. But I will say that feedback that we've gotten from engineering is that we don't want pedestrians to access the middle of because it's too dangerous with the cars coming through the roundabout. But that is the coolest idea.
But 9th and 9th, they'll have it all blocked off anyway, during the festival.
Interesting. Well, there's plantings that are coming up and no way to, I mean, you gotta talk to engineering. But, but that is a really cool idea. I love it. Yeah. Anything else?
Can I get one more bite at the apple? I love your idea, George. And now I'm thinking of like a tree with things hanging from it, like it's getting to, then we'll call it the Christmas tree and it'll be too much. But there's so many different businesses in the neighborhood that have been. I would love to see something like give a nod to Mondragon's barber with a pair of barber scissors and a loaf of bread from Great Harvest. There's just so many businesses that have existed here, such a diversity of businesses,
Don't forget
from
the
dog
groves.
washes. the
Aaron, that's
groves.
why we want a big fish for Ken's shop.
All these ideas, I feel like Jen Plume needs to be here, because I feel like you all have the idea for a community sculpture at the 9th and 9th Street Fair with the trees and everything else. But the articles and I will vet to Jason and Christina, will focus on welcoming and love, connection, diversity and modes of transportation, backgrounds, expressions. I'm going to word this up. I'm going to send it to Jason. Hopefully, would you mind sending it to everyone?
Yeah, we have good distribution network, both at our meetings as well as our twice monthly newsletter and the Facebook page. So we can get the message out and get that feedback as well.
That would be amazing. Thank you all
Thank
so
you.
much. What an incredible neighborhood you all
Great,
are.
so one ask I have is there an opportunity, like we were given an opportunity to survey our preferences for the roundabout? Is there an opportunity for us to give our feedback on maybe 2 or 3 options that the artists come up with and we can pick our favorites?
Oh man, so that is the role of the art design board, but all of our meetings are open to the public, and you can fill out the public comment card. But yes, I very much value and appreciate you all. But I think in keeping the process streamlined and respecting the board's jurisdiction and how it's set up. But yeah, it's an interesting way of how do we incorporate the community's feedback. And one is, the best way is to approach you all now, so you're included in the scope of work. But we all want you to love what is being put out. But art, it can be also sometimes very subjective. And so that's why on our board we have a makeup of an architect and professional artists and arts educators and just community members as well. So if you are interested in that sort of thing, I do encourage you to apply to the Art Design Board to serve their 3-year terms. But the next time it's open for District 5, we'd love to have you apply.
That's fair. Thank you.
We could post, if we knew when it was being heard, we could post it and at least let people know.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And we would really appreciate your help distributing the call to and sharing with artists that you know.
Yeah, there's several great artists in the ELPCO neighborhood. Yeah, so.
Thank you all so much for having me.
No worries. Thank you, Kat.
Jason. Appreciate
That was great. That was really exciting to kind of change the pace a little bit. It's like we're in art class as opposed to social studies. So we've got a couple more quick agenda items. We're not too bad on time, but I just wanted to do something we have to do, which is talk a little bit about, let's see if I can get this going, the board nominations. Oh, I see. So in our bylaws, which we adopted back in 2017, we talk about how we do board elections and board nominations. So we do the nominations in September, and then we do the elections in October. Those are 2 months where we generally have meetings, so that works out. And we've got a couple of board positions that are up for nomination this year. So let me go through it. But first I want to talk about the neighborhoods. You probably are aware of this map. This is the map of ELPCO. And so we have board representatives from these 4 neighborhoods: West Emerson, East Emerson, Historic Gilmer, East Liberty, actually 5 now with West of East. And then we also have co-chairs, treasurer, secretaries, folks like that. I think we're probably going to be expanding ELPCO's board in the near future. That's something that the board will discuss, I think, at a December meeting. But we'd like to get more people involved, because right now you can really only be on the board if you represent a geography. It'd be great to create some at-large or some specialized tasks, volunteer coordinator, social media guru, things like that, to just bring in more of our neighborhood to participate. But right now our bylaws are set with the positions we have. And we've got current nominations for East Liberty Park, Jeremy Higginson. Comment there. Christina Robb for West of East. Daryl High, co-chairs are up every other year, so he's up this year. He said he'd bring me back some really good pork from Portugal if I nominated him for co-chair. I think that's a really good trade, actually. So
you better share.
Maybe. He brings 2. And then we have a vacancy, and so Jeff Larson was nominated by the board to take that. And Jeff, you're here tonight. Thank you for coming. Sure. Jeff Larson lives in the East Emerson neighborhood. He's been coming to meetings for a while. Your kids sometimes come, so that's why we have the toys in the back for them. I brought the special Lego book today. But Jeff would be a new member joining for the East Emerson neighborhood. But I'd also like to take some nominations from the floor. Are there anybody here that would be interested in putting their name forward for an ELPCO board position? Any takers?
Well, I would, but there's no opportunities
And that's
listed.
one
To be
reason
at
why
large.
we want to expand the board. Although
I
we
would
do-
love to support the board.
We do have that's on the agenda for a board meeting in December. There is a secretary position open right now as well. So if you'd be interested in that, we can talk after the meeting. I did forget to put up here, treasurer is also to be renominated. Ralph Curtis is our treasurer. He keeps track of our giant bags of gold doubloons that we keep. So kind of like Scrooge McDuck. But he wasn't able to make it, but he is up for the treasurer nomination as well. So we'll close, I guess, the nominating window right now. And next month, in October, we will vote as a community about the board. And then hopefully in the new year, we can come back with a new plan for the board to do that. I actually have some maps over there if people are interested in sort of some ways that we're thinking about changing the system. Okay. Question, yes.
I have a question.
Robert, yeah.
What do the board members do?
What do the board members do? So one of the key ingredients for board members is they represent a neighborhood, a geography. And so they become sort of the leads for issues that come up in those neighborhoods. So for instance, if there's a an ADU or something going on in West Emerson, you know, Ellen would become sort of our lead on that, interfacing with the neighbors, talking to folks, making sure that we're doing well. Christina's been doing that a lot for the West of East neighborhood, making sure with the 9th and 9th construction that neighborhood concerns are being heard.
And I work with juveniles on this phone day. If anybody's interested in helping with that.
Okay, big issue up there, yeah.
Big issue.
Also, you know, they proposed changes to the bylaws, which we did back in 2017 about voting, and which we might do again about the representation. Board members also sort of help out with events, like the 9th and 9th Street Festival, other sort of joint events we do with other community councils, like the Liberty Park and Ballpark meetings that happened earlier this month. It depends on sort of how much you can give in terms of time. I think I would really appreciate it if we had more board members, so I could do less, actually. And that's one of the reasons why we want to bring in some more folks, especially a few people with expertise and want to contribute. So, does that answer your question, Robert?
Yeah, thanks.
Great, okay. All right.
You need a motion to close the nominations?
I don't think so. I don't think so. We kind of use Robbie's rules of order instead of Robert's, so we're a little less formal on that. One thing I did want to mention real quick, and Detective King mentioned it, was the meetings that happened earlier this month about the Liberty Park and Ballpark neighborhoods. I think what we saw here was when the neighborhoods come together, community councils, residents, elected leaders, we can actually make some change. We've definitely seen things happening in Liberty Park as the police department has sort of listened to what people have said and gotten some advice, and neighbors have also learned about what they can do, what is legal and what is not legal. You know, that homelessness is not a crime, and that they right to be in the park during the day, but after curfew, you know, no, you can't be in there, whether you have a home or you don't. So we definitely, I think, educated a lot of folks on these issues and showed when community councils and others come together, we can make a difference. And this has only happened in the past 2 months or so, and there's been some good progress already. So as we face additional issues in ELPCO and across this part of Salt Lake City, it's a good model to remember. It did work pretty well. Hopefully you've seen some of the coverage, some of the events that we've talked about in our newsletters and so forth. Anybody wants to talk about what happened, things like that, come up after the meeting. Daryl was there as well. Aaron was at both of the meetings, so we can give you some feedback and tell about what happened. But next we got Aaron coming up to give us a little bit of information. I'm wondering, can you talk briefly about the Park Ranger program?
Yeah, actually,
any updates on that?
And because we're 5 minutes over and we're going to adjourn, I will be brief. And I wanted to start by thanking the police department. Detective David King, if you don't know, he represents us here in District and is our best liaison between the community and the police department. And the police department has been fantastically responsive, and so has the mayor's administration. And those meetings you were talking about that have happened, one was at Horizonte, the ballpark convened about safety in the area. The other one was convened, I think, jointly between ELPCO, your representatives at your community council, and Liberty Wells Community Council, which was Sarah Adelman. And other community members came, the police came, the mayor's administration came, and as a result of talking about how do we solve this surge in drug use and overnight encampments that are making the park feel unsafe for many people and making our restrooms unusable to some extent. I know that the mayor's administration is proposing to the city council in our next budget amendment, not the one we're voting on at our next meeting on October 8th, but the one coming after that. So I would guess November. Some gap funding, a one-time gap funding for officers to have be able to come and patrol the park more often at night. And as Detective King mentioned earlier, it's about 10 months once they hire. We funded those Park Ranger pilot program officers, which is hopefully going to be an extension of the bike patrol. We funded it in June, but the money isn't received by the PD until October 1st, so Monday, Tuesday. But 10 months after that till they're out there on the street. So we need some gap support, and I'm grateful that the administration is bringing that. If you feel passionately about the council supporting that gap funding, know that I'm going to be advocating hard for it, but it never hurts to have the community come give us a public comment and say, please help us keep the park safe and welcoming for everyone, truly, but not to have it be a place of illegal activity. So that, we'll let you know when that comes up, but I think it'll be November. I also want to thank you all for your investment in the Funding Our Future conversation that we had last year, that we brought as the administration, as the city council, to say, do you want us to take this sales tax increase that the state offered? That was the 0.5% increase to sales tax. And if you want it, what do you want it for? And the community said 4 big things: affordable housing, transit, more patrol, more safety, public safety, and buses. And so not the 9th South project, but a lot of the other construction that you're experiencing when you're rolling up on it and you're like, yeah, like another road under construction. Remember, we asked for this. This is a good thing. We've doubled our maintenance crews. So we're repairing twice as many lane miles. Is it 140 lane miles, Tim, I think? We were doing about 70, 75 per year before that. We're repairing twice as many roads today. So it's a great thing. You can thank your tax dollars hard at work. The increase in patrol officers that Detective King mentioned from the 90s, it was even lower than that before that, up to about 180 patrol officers today. That's your tax dollars at work. We just finished the funding of that, the 50 officer increase. It took us 2 years, and we finished that in the last budget. Another piece of your increase is the circulator bus that's on 9th South now. I don't know if you've noticed it, but it's one of 3. It started with the change date in August, the UTA change date that happens every August. And it's when Salt Lake City bought up our first bus service. That means we are telling UTA with our taxpayer dollars where to run the buses, how often they run. So there's 7 days a week on 21st South, 9th South, and 2nd South. The next route that will come online is a 6th North, 10th North iteration. And they run, as I said, 7 days a week, later into the night, every 15 minutes for most of that week. And they go back and forth. There's multiples, so it's not just one bus, but they don't end up going to Kearns or to Cottonwood Heights. They are Salt Lake City buses, even though it's a UTA bus. So I want you to be able to the 9-line theme, in time, be able to dance to turn the lights on, and be able to like if you want to go to Waterwitch or to Lazee's for dinner, you can just, you know that you don't have to check a schedule. You're going to walk out to 9th South, you're going to get a bus, and whenever it is you get done, there's going to be a bus within 15 minutes to bring you back. And we're doing, that's your tax dollars at work. So that's our transit master plan we built. It's just phase 1. There's 2 more phases we need to make this city way more public transit functional. Yay. And the last piece is the affordable housing. That investment we've made is over $4 million a year right now that's going into affordable housing programs we didn't have ongoing funding for before. And one of those that is, I think, the most, is very moving. It's called House 20, and it's now starting its 2nd year of operation, and it's targeting the folks who are basically using services the most, using our police officer time, ambulance requests. They are in need folks, and that models around the country have found that housing people in those situations who we are supporting with our tax dollars in other ways, housing them ends up decreasing their need for emergency room visits and other public services. And so this House 20 program looks at those, really a financial look at who is the highest users of the public systems, and then offers them housing with case support. So we have housed the 20 highest users of the system. We hope to grow that and to continue that case management and housing. So it would be fun, I think, Jason, to hear from our housing and neighborhood development about how that program's going and what the results are. And anyway, so know your tax dollars are doing some great stuff. And we did that last June, but we can see the results playing out in our streets with our officers, with the housing, and with the buses. So get on the bus. I'll stick around if you have questions.
Yes.
Okay, I'll mention, just as your city council person, that you're going to get a ballot in the mailbox. October 15th ballots go out. We sent 90,000 ballots out for the primary election, and fewer than 38,000 came back. So fewer than 4 out of 9 were returned. Please do your civic duty, do your research. However you vote, please vote. And encourage your friends and your neighbors and your family to do the same. It couldn't be easier. You don't even even have to put a stamp on it. Just sign your name, fill in a little bubble. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Just a quick follow-up on the affordable housing. We actually, ELPCO put together about 4 or 5 questions for Salt Lake City HAN for housing and neighborhood development about affordable housing in ELPCO on the East Bench, about ADUs, how that plays. We're going to sit down with Tony Milner in a little bit, get some answers, probably come back to the community and report on what we found out. Really trying to zero in on what ELPCO's role in the affordable housing equation can be. So, all right. We have Tim Cosgrove from Salt Lake City Mayor's Office rounding out our meeting. Thank you, Tim.
I'm going to be really short because the things that I was going to speak on have already been addressed. CIP funding that Matthew Utley was talking about are in the 2021 fiscal year. So if you have questions about that.
In CIP, I know I didn't get a chance to ask Matthew what that stands for. Can you explain what that stands for?
Program? Yeah.
Okay, so it's like
it's
big things, right?
Can request for city infrastructure improvements, design.
7 Canyon Fountain.
Yep, 7 Canyons Fountain in Liberty Park, it was approved. Good job. ACE funding also, we heard about that. The deadline is October 31st. So if you have something with arts, culture, or events that you want to highlight, make sure you work with your community council. It's designated with, or registered with the city recorder's office in applying for those monies. Aaron mentioned the mayor's goal when she came in with the master transit plan was in creating a greener, sustainable transit corridor with connecting east and west. So we have the 9th South map here, and I can pass this around. Every 15 minutes, Monday through Saturday. If you want, I'll give you these.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Every 15 minutes, Monday through Saturday, 7 to 8, and half an hour on every half hour on Sunday. But this is kind of fun because it's got a list of the businesses that you can visit and partake of during the bus ride. And let's see, CIP, ACE, bus transit. Project Homeless Connect is, if you want to register, this is the third annual event that the mayor's had to connect resources with persons experiencing homelessness. If you want to register to volunteer, it's due by October 5th. It's at the Salt Palace. First year, 2017, we assisted 784 citizens with access to resources. Last year was 844. We expect well over 1,000 this year, but it helps connect them with everything from vision screenings to dental exams to affordable housing, but just ensuring that we're trying to take every opportunity and provide every access to drug treatment programs, just anything and everything that we can connect our persons experiencing homelessness with.
This is good.
Any questions on any of the issues?
I actually have a quick question, general question. So I didn't notice there were a lot of meetings this last month from the general elections coming up. And a lot of us who work in the city regularly are finding that it's harder to get a hold of the mayor's office with this, potential transition. Can you just let us know what the best way to connect with the mayor's office right now?
Right now, it's through your community liaison. I mean, we're working double time, overtime. I have the Good Neighbor Guide with all of our emails and phone numbers in there. But there's a lot of work going on towards the end of the term. Ensure that the services continue to be provided. Ensure that we're following through and being responsive to you. So it's best to just contact us and we can get it to the appropriate department within the city and with the mayor. All right, thanks for having me.
Thank you, Tim, appreciate it. And thanks for your help with the 7 Canyon Fountain funding. That's, ELPCO sent a letter, a lot of community members wrote in on that. We got over $700,000 to bring back that fountain. And it kind of shows how things are connected. That fountain's going to come back, The park patrol is going to start in Liberty Park. We've got the circulator buses on 9 South. We're going to have a brand new 9 South. We're going to have artwork there. It's all sort of this interesting connections that are happening. It all happens here at ELPCO. That's what's cool. Just a preview of our October 24th meeting. We're going to have Shireen Jorbani, Salt Lake County Council member at large. She's going to come and talk about what she's doing at the County Council. We're going to have Phil Winston talk about the project going up at Harvest Bread Company. You've probably seen the brickwork and the walls going up there. It's going to be an interesting assortment of shops and eateries. And we're also going to have the board elections when Daryl gets back from Portugal with my report. So look forward to that on October 24th, our next ELPCO meeting. Any new business or questions? And with that, we stand adjourned until then. Thank you for coming.
Good meeting.
Yeah. What do you think? The sideways.
I like it.
Yeah.